A group of animal rescuers took in some squirrels. However, one of these newborns stood out from the rest. The Antler Ridge Wildlife Sanctuary opened up in New Jersey in 2008. To this day, there is one story that the sanctuary holds dear to their hearts. During the winter, the Antler Ridge Wildlife Sanctuary received a call. Once Linda De Lorenzo picked up the phone, she was immediately informed about an abandoned attic. The caller claimed that in this attic there appeared to be a litter of animals and that a team should be sent out to help these baby animals out. As soon as Linda spread the message to the rest of the rescuers, a team was quickly assembled and they headed over to the provided location. For reasons that she couldn't explain at the time, Linda felt anxious. The team gradually made their way up to the attic, but Linda still couldn't shake off her nerves. When it was finally her turn, she grabbed the ladder with sweating palms. After everyone had climbed the ladder, they all stood side by side in shock. In the middle of the attic was the litter of squirrels. Since their opening in 2008, the Antler Ridge Wildlife Sanctuary has successfully rescued over 1,600 Easter gray squirrels. Not long after caring for them, they have always been able to release them back into the wild. Squirrel nests were things that the team had come across before, but little did they know how different this particular case was going to be. Linda heard one of her fellow rescuers shuffle beside her. They were probably getting closer to the nest. "Look at them," the voice said. But Linda didn't know who had said it, because she was completely captivated by the sight of the litter. The nest of baby squirrels was laying atop a makeshift bed. This resting place of theirs consisted of blankets and a couple of pillows. While some of them slept quietly, others were squealing and moving around. The sight was a peaceful one, and for a moment, all the team wanted to do was appreciate what laid before them. Even though Linda was also enjoying the scene, she was the first to notice something odd about the litter. In particular, there was one little squirrel that ended up catching her eye. While most of the squirrels were gray in color, one of them appeared to have white fur as well. The white patch was on the middle of its little head. With a shaky hand, Linda tapped the rescuer by her side, urging them to look at what she saw. They then looked at each other, wide-eyed. Despite all their experience, neither of them had seen such a strange-looking squirrel before. Linda especially was curious about this creature and what its white patch could potentially mean. Carefully, the rescuers collected the litter. They managed to bring them down to the attic and into the vehicle. Once they could confirm that the squirrels were safe and sound, the rescue team returned to the center. The team was able to successfully transfer the nest back to the sanctuary. Some time had passed since the litter was first found, and as the squirrels grew bigger, they became a lot more distinct to the rescuers. Each squirrel had their own personality. While some were confident and active from the beginning, others had always been shy. It was heartwarming to see them grow together. Every one of these squirrels were given a name. They were called Hazel, Macadamia, Montana, Jimmy, and Dottie. All of them were healthy and happy, and they looked like any other normal squirrel. Over this period, Linda kept her eye on the squirrel with the white fur patch. They ended up naming this little guy Filbert. One of the things that made him stand out against his siblings was how the color of his coat began to change after 2 weeks under the sanctuary's care. Instead of adopting either gray or brown fur like all the other squirrels, Filbert's coat ended up turning into something that no one at the sanctuary had ever seen before. Filbert's fur was white. The sight of this white-furred squirrel fascinated everyone at the sanctuary. A crowd surrounded Filbert, with people including the ones who had rescued him as well as others who had only observed him from a distance. Over those couple of weeks, that little creature was the main topic of everyone's conversations. "We were all surprised. Filbert was so white," said Linda. Linda's intuition told her that this strangely colored fur was a big deal. The entire team was curious as to whether Filbert had a rare condition. Eventually, they narrowed the possibilities down to 2 reasons. Filbert could either be albino or leucistic. While these conditions can look quite similar at first glance, the key difference is that leucism is when pigment gets partially lost, whereas albinism is the complete lack of melanin in the animal's genes. Albinism is caused by a genetic mutation and is very rare. At this early stage, the rescue team couldn't yet confirm which of the 2 conditions Filbert possessed. The best way of distinguishing between them was by checking the color of Filbert's eyes. While leucism causes dark eyes, albinism leads to an animal having striking red eyes. Considering how young Filbert was, the team had to wait a couple more weeks before they would find their answer. The time came around when Filbert reached 4 weeks old. The rescuers, including Linda, surrounded him once again, eager to witness this special moment. When the white squirrel opened his little eyes, everyone was shocked. After such a long wait, the rescuers finally got an answer. Filbert's tiny eyes were red. He was an albino. According to scientific research, albino squirrels are not very common. They only occur 1 in every 100,000 gray squirrels. It is precisely due to this rarity that there are laws in place to protect them from being hunted or harmed. Although Filbert's appearance made him stand out against all his other siblings, that was where the differences ended. He was just like any other squirrel and shared just as much interest in regular activities expected of their species. For example, he would join his family as they searched for nuts, as well as hiding them in clever places. All of them would help each other out with building nests, making use of the materials around them. Squirrels are also adept at climbing. Have you ever seen these furry creatures climb the trees at your local park? As much as the Antler Ridge Wildlife Sanctuary adored these squirrels, they couldn't keep them forever. Everyone on the rescue team enjoyed the time spent with the animals they protected, but at the end of the day, the creatures they cared for belonged in the wild. After staying with the sanctuary for 12 weeks, it was finally time to release the squirrels. And so, the team said their goodbyes to Montana, Jimmy, and Dottie. Unfortunately, Filbert couldn't join his brothers and sisters. As much as the wild called to him, the fact that he was an albino had to be taken into consideration. Albino animals might be eye-catching and unique, traits that we as human beings can admire. However, this would also make them easier targets when in the wild. There are countless predators within the forest that could end up hurting little Filbert. It also didn't help that the squirrel had poor eyesight. The sanctuary couldn't take these risks and therefore decided to keep him at the center. Nevertheless, this is not the end of Filbert's story. Even though most of the nest was given the opportunity to return to the wild, Hazel and Macadamia didn't want to leave their albino brother behind. The sisters chose to stay, and the three have been inseparable since. The Antler Ridge Wildlife Sanctuary is currently continuing to care for the squirrel siblings. In order to accommodate their needs, a large enclosure was built just for them. In this enclosure, there is a lot of space for the animals to move around in, alongside several branches for them to jump on. Just like expected from any siblings, they sometimes steal each other's food or playfully wrestle. Filbert is happy to be able to spend the rest of his life with his loving sisters. Let me know what you thought of this story in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video and want to see more like this, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. I'll see you again soon.